And actually, I don't really think that was down to it being Viper. We saw great individual plays from them, and they just kind of walked into sight and fragged. You know, sometimes that's just the way things go. Cirque was really adept at finding those openings. Not sure how much they can be able to do here on Icebox, as there aren't necessarily quite the flanking opportunities, I at least feel in some ways, and at the same time too many. But that means that people are watching them more often, and I think a team like Ovation as well are going to be very deft at shutting that down.
Well, let's get things started. It's Switzerland versus Norway in Ovation eSports going up against Hyferion5. And starting off, this is Ovation's map pick and Hyferion5 selecting the attack. So we'll have to see how can they pressure onto the sites as they leave the spike back in spawn. And Heesh falls down first to Floco.
Extreme looking for some of these headshots as well, but just trading that damage picks off. This is John and Hyferion5. The advantage they had is now a little bit squandered. A little bit more back in their hands rather than giving it over to Ovation. And they're actually shifting things up and pushing over to B. This is something we saw from them a lot. They love to shift up exactly where they're going to be pushing.
Yeah, and interesting, the defender's Viper wall here is actually quite an aggressive one. You're giving up yellow with this wall, but you are making it very difficult for anyone to push through yellow, although now it falls. Attacker's wall has gone up, but currently boosted up. And there we go, Leosin finds Happen. A very good start there for Ovation's defense, although McConaughey might just be caught out. Not a chance. Takes down Cirque. And inside the Viper's bites is McConaughey getting the plant. Well, McConaughey getting the kill, sorry. The planter going over to Ram. And there we have it, Ovation taking the first round.
Yeah, McConaughey with a great start to this one. And I mean, historically, they've had a lot of success, at least when I'm kind of looking at this player. But more recently, they've been not delivering as much of the team. I'd be very happy to see Ovation kind of have McConaughey step up and really brag out, because it's not been something we've seen too much of them recently, but we know with that historical precedent that they can absolutely do it. And kicking things off with a 3K is exactly where I think they want to find themselves at the very least. Interesting to see Hyferion5 playing around with what they're exactly going to be buying up here, and even the Marshal in hand here. And I mean, that could be the power they need, but already this is John taking Cirque off the board, even looking for more.
Yeah, having to dash out though does mean that's a bit of a reset here for the defenders, as I mean, attackers down a player, and that player isn't just anyone, that's your Viper that's fallen down. You don't really have this anymore for your attack. And look at this flank from the defenders, knowing that they have the advantage, and it's all up to Extreme at least finding a pick on Leosin. And oh my word, if this is actually another pick, it could look a little bit better for the way things have started going. This is John ends all of that, but Ovation have lost 3 players, and Hyferion5 are going to be buying up to full now.
Yeah, it's a good bit of cash, honestly, and I think Extreme was kind of looking at this and going, I'm fine having the lower armor if I'm able to get a little bit of eco damage here, because this makes this round much easier and sets you up for that kind of, well, obviously this is the bonus round, it sets you for that rifle versus rifle a little bit better if you can kind of clean things up. The problem is now is that Hyferion5 have to be very careful. They can't cede too much here, because you look at their economy, even though even if they win this round, if they lose a couple of players, they're not going to have the weapons to really contest in the same way, and they're going to have to rely on individual players popping off rather than just a really solid macro strategy back up with rifles. Floco's looking for a chance here. They're out in the open.
Ooh, nothing found just yet. Ram just going to be watching mid whilst Floco is actually going to keep pushing up. He's already getting the ultimate orb over on A side, but backing off shortly after at least. They do have some assistance with them, although I'm not too sure if that's going to really be enough. As here, Krovex just spraying with the Spectre, gets a lot of damage onto Heesh, but ends up falling regardless in a bit of a swap out. This is John on 7 health, going for the Spectre to play these close range engagements as Ram finds the pick on Floco, getting a little bit too aggressive there. And this is, of course, the bonus for Ovation, so we do expect for Hyferion5 to come out on top, but not to this extent where it seems as if
No
Ovation
charges
are
for you.
crumbling a bit. Though a heal from the Ocean does mean that
Spike
there is a bit of a
planted.
chance to do some damage here for the defenders in Ovation.
I love this from Hyferion5 as well, is that they were happy to make that rotate,
flight.
happy to play the longer game, bait a couple of players in, take down that Reyna who was evidently lurking on mid. You were aware something was going to be happening there, and then play it out from there. This is such a great round for them, and I don't think Ovation are even going to get a frag unless something goes drastically wrong for Hyferion5 here. And anything they can get, Ovation will be very happy with.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, off of this as well, Circuit just getting so much value with this Viper utility. Though Happen does find Leosin, and I think this is exactly what you're saying. We're not going to see any picks for Ovation. Not at all, especially with Extreme coming in and a team ace. Something, it looks flashy, but it's also really great for your economy going into the future rounds.
It really is a very solid round for Hyferion5. I kind of said if they lose out on a couple of these players, things are going to look dicey for their economy. If they clean it out, I mean, obviously they'll be in a great place. They've still got to play rifle versus rifle for this round, but that was a really well executed round. And again, what we were kind of seeing from Hyferion5, especially on Bind yesterday, clean macro decisions, great ability to know we don't have to commit towards this. We don't need to go for the bloody play, just force our ways onto A here. Just go for something it's a little bit more standard. And now Ovation are going to be sitting back with a bit of an advantage in terms of weaponry because they've got that up. And, wow, they're going to dome ram off the board, even take Extreme. This is so good for Ovation.
God, this is John finding a pick onto Extreme does mean that the operator is still in hand. And a smoke to block out the recon dart as well. It's... Okay, at least there's resurrection onto Ram. A pick from Heish. This changes everything for this attack. As the map does open up for them, they're allowed to now rotate. I really feel like Hyferion5 were in such a bad position there after 2 picks came out from Ovation, but now things are changing and Happen walling off mid. Floco not even actually opting to take down the wall. And this means the B site is a lot more available. McConsty noticed, but Floco, or Happen in that case, noticed as well. Meanwhile, the bomb,
It's a hard sell.
the spike's heading over to A here, Rook.
Absolutely is. This is a hard sell that wall. Oh, the shot they knew happened was
my.
there, but still go
30
down
seconds
to
left.
it. Hyferion5 have played Ovation for fools, taken them around the map, and yeah, sure, you lose Happen. That's fine. Who cares? You get the spike down, you're in a post-spawn situation, you still have your Viper and your Sober alive. What could you ask for?
Okay, Heish not finding anything with the Hunter's Fury, and as much as that gives away your location, it does dissuade the attackers from doing anything, and this lurk from Leosin is massive. Circu currently lining up, but Leosin walks right past it. They don't notice each other, but Leosin finds Heish off of that, finds Ram as well. We see Vipers put on sight for the defenders, as Leosin just opened up everything for them. Hyferion5, we're still down to only Circu. Can't even find another pick.
Okay, well, they find the round anyway, but that was a disaster for Hyferion5. They had all the opportunity in the world. I mean, they won the round anyway, again, as I say, but that should have been theirs. Leosin moved in behind, took down 2 players, and at that point, if you're Hyferion5, you're really sitting there going, oh, no, not like this. But Cirque with the Viper's Bite, that's why people are looking at Viper and go, wow, this agent is absolutely busted right now. Such a great ability to deny post-spawns and to cut off the entire map. Honestly, I thought she was relatively strong even when she wasn't high pick, but when they buffed her, even with the subsequent nerf, she is just so darn terrifying, and Cirque has been stellar on that for sure. Knows their lineups and, well, puts them to good use. Floco might get good contact here, but goes down to Happen, and Hyferion5 have another opening.
Not aside, Blade Storm being utilized, and of course defenders do not have the Viper's Piss at the moment. They used it in the previous round. Extreme, once against the backside, does find the head of Leosin, and that's really important as now it's only 3 players left for Ovation's defense. This is John, Blade Storm as well, and it's a duel of the knives right now. This is John just trying to kind of jiggle peek over this wall. Falls down to Extreme. Now it's all up to Krovex. He's not able to find anything. A flawless victory for the attackers in Hyferion5.
Yeah, a brilliant round for Hyferion5, and again, kind of a misstep from Ovation there. I love the attempt at Floco, but unfortunately he just tries to round that corner, gets spotted out instantly, and well, as a result, pretty easily dies. Ovation were ready, sorry, Hyferion5 were ready for it, and I think that's something we see a lot from some of these more well-drilled teams, and Hyferion5, again, are looking like one of the best drilled teams I've seen, kind of at this level, in a long time. Really great play from them, and just everything they do seems to be heads up, and backed up with frags like we're seeing from Extreme, like we're seeing from, well, pretty much everyone on the roster.
Oh, wow.
You gotta be scared about that. Tries to hold the angle, but this is John is off the board. Extreme, as I highlighted, is one hell of a player.
Yeah, Extreme finally picked it where they definitely shouldn't have. Just going for a quick swing and finding another onto Krovex, who did not expect him to be standing on top of that. Snurky does fall to Floco on the flank though, and that means that right now it's one player. Oh my word, Leosin, you can't miss those shots. Extreme on 3 kills this round. And defenders are going for a complete flank for the retake. We might even see a save coming out from this. McConaughey watching mid. Extreme does walk into his crosshair. And that does mean that 2 versus 3 Ovation, if they really want to try, they need to make this attempt very quickly. Getting information from some sounds, but happen with the operator taking down McConaughey, and that was actually Ovation's operator. So Hyferion5, if they, winning this round, their advantage is phenomenal here, Rook. Dropping the operator doesn't even want it.
I think it's sometimes really difficult, to be fair, to use on the attack. And I think Hyferion5 are well aware of that. Again, kind of to look at what we saw from them yesterday, as much as their defense was decent, their attack was really where they shined. They looked absolutely terrifying. Pretty much regardless of what they were really doing. Timeout coming through here, as you can obviously see on your screen. They just had it on lock. They understood a lot of the ways in which kind of other teams were approaching things in terms of their defensive setups, and then obviously played them around the map like we've seen here, but also just had the lineups, had the post plants ready, and I think Bine kind of highlighted that, and I didn't expect to see it here so much on Icebox. I think there are a lot of great lineups and a lot of great individual setups you can do, but normally we see teams responding quite well to them, and as much as this is an attacker-sided map, I thought Ovation would be able to kind of quench a lot of the kind of thirsty plays that Hyferion Player 5 were trying to make by, I think, being a little bit too overeager at times. But Extreme has really popped off, really delivered here, and I think that's more than enough to kind of push them over the edge. And I mean, this Hyferion 5, if they keep playing like this, you know what? They could potentially win this whole tournament.
Absolutely, and I mean, looking at the scoreboard here, Extreme on 9 kills. It's only round 7 now. That's excellent plays, and Extreme actually swapping out some weapons here. He's going to be buying themselves. And, I mean, economy-wise, Ovation, the chances of them winning this round are actually so low. But, technically, the 2 rounds they did win were when they were light buying. And it seems like, as soon as Hyferion5 has the weaponry, Ovation flounder a bit.
We saw this actually when Hyferion5 took on Atravs. As soon as the rifle's in hand, Hyferion5, they come alive. Subway is going to start to block up a lot of the angles, and Floco tries, and while subsequently fails. Extreme constantly putting pressure on, finding those frags left, right, and center, and Ovation, they have to push.
McConaughey's just jumping down, gets a 2k with the Sheriff and drops the Vipers, but finds a third! McConaughey, you are insane! But it's still, it's a 2 versus 2. Hyferion5 are still so far ahead. But what insane plays from Circu. This is John going to be peeking, but dealing with Vandals on both of Hyferion5's players. Going for the plant, but there's a wall. Shotdog comes in, is looking to find This is John, but Krovex manages to find a Phantom. 9 bullets left in the chamber, but cannot close it out onto Ram, finding the head of Krovex.
Oh, it was oh so close. Ovation almost had it with the magic that McConaughey kind of pumped out with that Sheriff. Absolutely beautiful and tragic, honestly, in its own way, obviously, because he didn't pick up that round. The rest of the team couldn't clutch it out. They were at a weapon disadvantage. What are they supposed to make of that situation? That dart, especially from Heesh at the very end there, to seal the deal. This is John tempted to hold it behind that wall, but it was just no dice. Now, Ovation kind of need to be looking at this and going, right, how are we going to crack the nut of Hyferion5's attack? What are we going to try and do to push it down? They're going to have some more aggressive angles of Krovex, and I think they saw a lot of success on some of these angles they've held, but they need to just win these duels. I think that's the big important part right now. They need to win out those initial frags and then take it from there when they've got that advantage. But Extreme, as per usual, well, stands and delivers.
Yeah, Extreme getting this pick early is absolutely brutal for Ovation, and Happen following up with a pick onto Floco. This is the exact opposite of what Ovation eSports needs right now. A full rotate over to B because Viper's Pit is set up on A, trying to stall out any sort of push there, but Krovix is holding mid and nobody's going mid yet. That means that anyone who comes through B pushes into orange. Krovix is in a dire situation. Circu can be planting. This time I won't confuse this player with McConsty. We do see some nice positions here. I like Leosin playing up high, but no backing off at the exact wrong time. Takes quite a lot of damage and going for a repeat. Does find the kill onto Circu though, which means the spike has fallen. Although we're actually seeing a rotate through to mid. It's a resurrection from both sides. Floco back up, but so is Circu going for the plant inside the poison orb. Krovix just spraying through the smokes and actually finds Circu, which means there's no more attacker Viper utility out, and down Happen falls to Krovix, finding another kill as well for Vandal, following up from his shot dart, and Floco coming out strong alongside Leosin to clear it out in Ovation, finally putting another round on the board here, Rook.
Honestly, if we didn't see Floco pop off there and find a couple of those frags, I think Hyferion5 really could have picked up that round anyway. The fact that they were in such defensive positions, they still had so much utility to drop on that spike to deny away, Innovation had to be the ones to make the play, could have resulted in a lethal combination, losing them the round. But stepping up to the plate, both Krovix and Floco, the fact that Krovix found those sprays through the smoke, denied the plant again as well, was obviously so key, but just so good from them. Good coordination here from Ovation and kind of what we're expecting to see. If they can build on that and get some of that momentum back, that could be what they need to actually take this map, which I believe, if I remember correctly, those are the words I'm looking for, is their pick.
Yeah, looking at this, I'll actually give it to you right now. Yeah, this pick is Ovation's pick, and Hyferion5 chose to attack here, which, as we can see, this is a perfect selection of which side to start on. McConsty just hiding in lowers. No damage dealt to this player from the shock darts either. Extreme, of course, boosted over here with the Blade Storm out. Does mean that quite a lot can happen. Leosin finds the starting pick, but we do see a trade on the other side of the map. Hyferion5. Oh, what a jump from Extreme, and it's not going to work out. As we see another pick coming off the back of that from Dissus John with the operator as well. Ram slowly pushing forward as it's only up to Ram. Not able to do it. Does deal some damage. That's two players falling. But my concern here is actually what the economy is going to look like after this round.
It's a little bit tight if you are Ovation. I think they'll still be able to put a rifle on Krovix. They can buy from Leosin. But Hyferion5, I mean, they won 5 rounds in a row. They're going to have a lot of cash in the bank. This is, however, one of the last few rounds they're actually going to be able to buy up. And now there's only 2 rounds left in the half to be... well, 2 rounds left in the half after this one anyway, so they've got to be kind of careful with that one. I've been loving the way that Ovation have actually dealt with a lot of these issues that now Hyferion5 are throwing at them. It's the kind of problem solving that you do in fact love to see. Now, that scan sees 1. I assume Krovix is now implying that there are a couple of other players there. And, I mean, Hyferion5 just back off. They're playing that slow game. This is what has been successful for them. I want to see this happen more. They've got a couple of more rounds to play with in this half. Get that big advantage going into the second.
Ooh, an Extreme actually boosted up over in middle. Thanks to that updraft, but no one on the defenders pushing up mid, which we did see Floco attempt, and it didn't quite work out. Was thwarted from the side of Hyferion5. But we'll have to see. I'm going to have to agree with you here. I love this slow play. And if there's anyone to watch during this, it's going to be Extreme. But the defenders just... Floco might actually push up mid, and we have the entirety of the attackers going through B at the moment. Okay, this is John. Goes for a shot, but is completely smoked off thanks to utility coming in from Circu. It looks like we're going to see a rotation off of this, and there's not a single defender on A at the moment.
But they haven't gone too far. They're aware that something could be happening, especially because you're not hearing any more plant noises. You can't see any extra players. They've wisened up to the tricks that that Hyferion5 are likely to throw in now. 2 players ready and waiting, 40 seconds on the clock. I bet Hyferion5 and we're expecting, no one will be here. We won't have any issues. Just in there. The defenders don't manage to snipe it before it goes down. And that could be oh so key. Krovex has found that opening.
Ooh, McConsty is setting up a bit of a crossfire alongside their teammates. Ish getting a lot of information and even a kill thanks to the Hunter's Fury. Ram hoping to find something with turret. Definitely going to be quite useful, but the defender's able to defuse. There's no lineup or any time for Hyferion5 to make something happen. Although, 2 kills coming through after that, but really not enough to make it worthwhile.
Yeah, it really isn't. I'm impressed with Ovation to be able to find that. Hyferion5 just didn't have that post-plant utility left. I think they invested a lot, especially on that B site. That's the thing you got to be wary of. Yeah, you can try and make these rotates happen, and I think on some maps it's absolutely fantastic. The problem is, right, is if you're playing this Viper, she's very much lay it down and use it. You can't really recycle in the same way, especially that wall, which is so key in the utility she brings here. But this is John, well, not so worried about utility, more worried about heads, much akin to Krovex there.
And then being able to just dash out of there shows you why Jet is such a powerful operator user, and now backing off and going for the verticality. Hyferion5 down to 3 players so early into the round. We do see, however, on the attack, lockdowns coming out, and that does mean that off of the resurrection as well, slowly shoring off the disadvantage, but Floco sneaking underneath the turret placement. I'm not sure that Hyferion5 is aware of this, of how deep the flank is, although they are posturing for it happen. Going to find Floco's bullets in their head, and Circu pushing up inside of their own Viper's Fury as each takes down the flanker. Leosin making some noise on the ropes does mean that they will be caught out as Circu inside of the Viper's pit takes down McConsty. It's now 2 players left to the defenders as down Krovex goes, and it's all up to Leosin. Second last round of the half is an extremely important one as well, as right now Leosin is just losing so much health thanks to the Viper's pit. Finds the first pick, but there's a direct follow-up from Ram.
Hyferion5 with some good play there. Definitely taking control in terms of the economy. I think it'll be able to be a buy-up on Ovation, but still feeling the pull of that one a little bit. They've got 2 ultimates ready as well to work with. Love to see that from Ovation here, that they didn't invest all too much. That round felt a little bit gone, you know. The Viper's pit made things that a little bit difficult. If Ovation go into the second half with an even Steven scoreline, I think they're very, very happy with that one. As we said before, this map is that little bit attacker favor, and I think Ovation are a team who can definitely execute on that. Leosin has really been delivering as well on this Sage, and I think if you can kind of leverage that with some backup from all of the utility they have to try and make those pushes, well, Ovation are going to be pretty darn scary.
Ooh, Late Storm coming out from Dissus John on the defense as well, and they have a revive too for Ovation, but the plant's already coming out, so we will be seeing a retake plan for the defenders as Leosin finds Ram over in mid. And this means that a rotation can come through as well as a flank from Floco and McConsty. Circu making all the noise that they could ever make. And this peak might actually be really bad for Ovation. And oh yeah, Floco finds one. Devour's going to come through, a pick for Circu, but Floco managing to get a 2k off of that and will have the overheal for the rest of this flank. And it's all up to Happen on their own whilst the bomb is being defused. Oh, whoa, what a pick from Happen. 15 health in a dream, a classic in hand, dealing with Krovex, who is going to be coming to peak this. And oh my, what is happening? Does Krovex have time to defuse?
Honestly, that strafe there from Happen, the movement in the very clutch moment there, I think actually did it for them. He whiffed his shot. Hyferion5 were like, okay, it doesn't matter. What goes on here does not contribute as long as I stay alive that little bit longer. Gave them the time. And 2 rounds now is an advantage for Hyferion5. I'm loath to say as whether it's enough, but it's certainly an advantage that they really can work with.
Oh, I mean, Hyferion5 now 7 rounds to 5 as we move over to the second half of Icebox. Of course, as you were saying, Rook, this is an attacker-sided map. Even though those statistics don't necessarily mean everything, I think composition is also very important. But talking about composition, Hyferion5 do have the Killjoy, and that helps a lot on defense here.
It can make a world of difference. It just means that you've got ways to shut down some of these default plant spots that otherwise this Viper is always going to be a thorn in your side. It's a nice way to buy yourself that little bit of extra time, and well, we can certainly see that in the coming rounds as Floco starts to move on forward, back up from Leosin here. They take down Hack.
I mean, Happen not able to do anything there. Wall gonna be put up, and we're actually gonna be planting over an orange. But look at this people! Circu pushing all the way through mid. Just as John now has to go pick up the spike, but they're aware that the player's here. Ram going for the verticality and gets a pick onto Distas John. Ovation's attack falls apart to Hyferion5.
I told you that Cirque was one hell of a fragger. Yeah, we've seen good stuff from them, playing this Viper, dealing out damage with the Viper's bites and cutting off a lot of those angles. But when it comes down to it, those shots land. Well, honestly, more than you can ask for sometimes, especially with some of the games that I've played. I know that one to be true. But Hyferion5 picking up that pistol round, that's going to make a world of difference. So much economic advantage going on in here. And because I don't think their defense is necessarily going to be as strong, they need every advantage they can get. Because Ovation, once they come online, they're going to be very scary. But you got to keep in mind, when those rifles are in the hands of Hyferion5, there's certainly no slouches either.
I mean, if anything, Hyferion5 definitely, I would say, at times favored when it comes to the rifles. But now, second round, extremely important to see how things are going to pan out in the future rounds based on how many picks you get and how the rounds pan out. But Happen, we start off with a pick onto Krovex, swapping back to the Spectre, backing off though, as Leosin finds a pick onto Extreme. A little trade out coming through. And McConaughey wants to push through a little bit more aggressively. We've already seen things being fragged out both ways, and Ram pulling out the knife at the absolutely wrong time. Hyferion5 dropped down to 2 players versus 2 on Ovation's attack. What? Leosin goes down to the shock dart. That shock dart was on yellow.
I was shocked that one actually managed to land, but now this is a really good position for Hyferion5. They can just play passive, and McConaughey has to go for something. They've got a decent amount of time to work with, but don't know if it's enough to go to the other side, at least with some of the utility you've already got down. It looks like they're going to commit here.
And I mean, McConaughey has to commit. There's no doubt about it. And shot in the back by Cirque. I mean, there was no time at all. And Hyferion5 now on 9 rounds to 5. Ovation's map pick slowly but surely falling. It's running away from them.
This is what Hyferion5 really wanted. Momentum-based team. They got those last 2 rounds of the half. And whether they've managed to rock on through rifles now for Ovation. But it still stands to test as to whether they can actually crack the nut that is this defense from Hyferion5, which so far has been pretty darn strong, even with some cheeky plays coming up from Ovation. It's, for example, that plant towards mid on that B site. Not seen that very often. Plays like that, they can work out. Trading 1-for-1, Hyferion5, I think I'm pretty happy with that.
I mean, I'm a bit concerned due to losing the Viper, but Happen does have a nice little angle to hold here, especially because oh my, but the peek from Distas John, if Happen managed to get the kill a little bit sooner, we would be seeing a bit of a different defense. But I mean, it's all up to Ram, who's just jiggling around with nothing but a sheriff here. And Hyferion5, unless we see something amazing from Ram, are actually going to have to start turning things around on their buy.
Good round there from Ovation, but losing a couple more players than they would probably like. Hyferion5 now looking for their chance to really shut down. There's a kind of, well, counter-attack coming through here. They're going to be picking up some interesting stuff. They don't necessarily have the eco to buy absolutely everything. And again, putting this operator on Extreme on the defense here. You know what? I'm excited for it. I think it's a really good call because I think they can shut down so much of this A site.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Extreme. Hopefully you're going to be picking up a few picks here. A few frags for that matter. Although, nobody over on Belt, which I do quite like from Ovation. Knowing that there's enough of an economy for a player to buy up to something like an operator. Or even rifles for that matter can be a bit dangerous. Although Hyferion5 right now holding back a bit. But there's the pick for Extreme. what an angle to fire at as well. Ovation needs to be very careful about Cirque. He's just waiting behind the wall. Oh my! It was almost a 2k for Cirque. But it looks like it's 2k for Floco, and this is something that we need to see. Floco on the Reyna has to make things happen. Finding 2 kills now does put this at a 3-3. He's going to be finding quite a lot of information here with the Owl drone. And with that, we just have the attackers backing off over to mid, probably moving through to B. But of course, McConsty's utility is on B site. So as soon as we get some more gas in the canister,
30 seconds left.
we can see an execute start to happen. Ram right now does have the swarm grenade over on default. And right away, Krovex wants to get rid of it, checking if there's anything more, but I'm sure there'll be a lineup. Krovex stops because of the amount of fire that he is taking from mid.
10 seconds left.
This happened. Not able to really stop Krovex from planting inside, although he can just take him down, shooting through the wall. Hyferion5 making sure that they have all the advantages possible. McConsty going to be holding yellow, looking for a pick and swinging alongside Floco, but no alternatives just yet. Out, the snake bite comes, and with vulnerability, McConsty finds a pick and closes it out with the 2k.
Great stuff again from this Viper. McConsty delivering when it is necessary. Ovation managing to pick up the round, and I mean, in that post-plant situation, you have such an advantage. It was really nice attempt to deny that plant coming through from Krovex, but you know, at the end of the day, the fact that he was able to slip on in there, and even though he died, he got that that spike down, and we see it again and again. Right now, especially on maps like this, with the Viper, post plants are absolutely deadly to deal with. It's very difficult to properly maneuver them. We saw that Fnatic were able to do it effectively against Version 1, but not many other teams are able to do it, especially not at this level. It can be so darn difficult. Again, to kind of come back to Floco, they need to be delivering, because the difference between these comps is that they've got that extra duelist, and you need to be proactive if you want that duelist to have a lot of success here. Frags going back and forth, Hyferion5 are going to find themselves very much lacking here, but Ovation kind of pushing on forwards and having that aggression, that's the key part you got to focus.
Oh, I do feel like Hyferion5 absolutely falling apart here, losing such important players really early on, and on top of that, losing out on the Blade Storm. Ovation were aware that Hyferion5 do not have a full buy, and they are going to abuse that as much as possible. Cirque, just holding underneath, does get some audio cues and going to be going in with the judge, but cannot make it out.
No way. A really clean round for Ovation, and now they're only one behind. This is exactly the kind of situation they were looking to find themselves in. These are 3 rounds. They've had those rifles. Normally we talk about Hyferion5 really having those pop-off opportunities once they hit those higher-powered weapons, but kind of not able to really make it happen, at least in that previous round. And, well, now they're going to be back up in something a little bit more comfortable. Cirque even taking the judge here. Now, not many reasons you would normally take a judge. Sometimes you see it on the Rays because she can get so up in your face. Reason you take it here on the Viper is because you got Viper's pick, so you can just drop it down and hold that A site essentially solo.
Yeah, it's really important. You just have to watch out for any verticality that the attackers managed to pull out. And another thing on the ultimates as well, we've got revives on both sides. The plant's going to be starting on B though, and oh no, that swarm grenade was not the best, just sitting on top of the area orb, and constantly opening up the first pick onto Cirque means that it's not going to be an easy defense here for Hyferion5. Happen falling as well, that's no more revive. Leosin has been looking good and only starts looking better as the game goes on. And Extreme needs to find a way to get some picks, but he might just have a save even as McConsty waiting inside of the defender spawn. Going to be moving through to mid a little bit more, as Kitchen is where the defenders want to hold, or at least try push out to find something. But of course they had information on McConsty being there. No one there anymore. But Rook, I mean, this round's already over in Ovation. It means they're tying it up 9-9.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant for them. I mean, just getting so much damage in. Ram at least gets a frag here to be able to take a rifle off the board, but Ovation obviously winning 4 rounds, not exactly hurting in terms of economy, and a lot of those have been particularly what's the word I'm looking for? Flawless. They've not managed to lose anyone, and I think it's a timeout. So this is for the defenders. This is Hyferion5 calling it. I'm not really shocked to see this one coming out.
Yeah, I think that the timeout here is perfect for them to try and bring things back together. I mean, on the board right now, they do have the lockdown and they do have the Hunter's Fury. And I feel like out of the ultimates that they have in their team composition, these are probably the two most important ones you'll have on defense. Sans the Viper's Pit, of course, but I mean, Viper on both sides, Killjoy is really the differentiator. But from Ovation, as much as Hyferion5 are on the back foot here, Ovation coming back in the attack, this is their map pick. They did have a plan, and now coming in with double duelist, it's showing how well it can work out.
Really is. You can just dictate the flow of a lot of these rounds, and I think that Reyna, at least in some of these, has been working out very, very well. And I mean, I don't think I need to speak about the Jets on either of these teams. They've been absolutely stellar. But I do think that obviously right now Extreme kind of sitting at the very top. The fact that McConsty is getting away with a lot of these frags, and Leosin for the same measure, on these more supportive agents is very surprising. But it's a key part of what makes Ovation Ovation. They have talented fraggers in every role, and even if Floco or This Is John don't necessarily deliver to the same degree, someone can step up, someone can deliver, someone can bring the kind of frags, the kind of firepower that they need to be able to actually execute their plans. Now, speaking of their plans, they're looking forward to this very heavily here.
Oh, This Is John and Extreme are going to have quite the duel here. Of course, Hyferion5 not fully bought up, but Aldrone is going to discover Extreme. And if This Is John... Okay, the Tailwind's going to get Extreme the hell out of there. But This Is John does want to swing. Right now, Hyferion5 are playing so safe. They know that they can actually just wait for this. Try to play the retake. They are going to be breaking the barrier orb. And with the lockdown now from the defenders, this... I'm not too sure about this timing. I mean, sure, it scares the attackers away, but over in mid, the advantage is on Ovation's side. So weaponry for Hyferion5 is just not quite there to defend this. And now they're sending the attackers all the way over to B, where it's all up to Circu. He does have the Vandal, of course, but very concerned about the two defenders. Viper's Pit comes out. Now just pushing directly into it. Planting inside the pit, but a really off default position. McConsty finds the traces and just fires back at Circu.
One enemy remaining.
And Ovation just absolutely storming through. And it's all up to Extreme up against 5 Ovation's players.
Your fault.
He's finding one onto This Is John. Gets another one to Floco, but oh my word! Extreme! 19 HP remaining. McConsty and Krovex are the last players that Extreme has to deal with, but Krovex coming in with the flank is going to find the head of Extreme, but 3 kills on the board for a single player on Hyferion5. Impressive, but not enough.
I thought it really could have been. I was popping off for a second there, but unfortunately, as you say, it wasn't quite enough to tow them over the line, and Hyferion5 obviously feeling that one a little bit. Extreme was well set up for greatness, and unfortunately couldn't quite deliver in that 1v4 situation. Sorry, 1v5 situation. What do Hyferion5 really need to do? I think they really got to hunk down a little bit more and not overextend. They're losing a couple of players early on here. Keep in mind that Circle was actually in the perfect position to try and deny that angle. Really great usage of the Viper's Bite, but they didn't get the sprays right through the smoke. And they didn't deny the plant, even though they cut off so much of the angle. They expected it to be in the kind of second choice plant, but actually it was just about able to squeeze in there because that Viper's Bite didn't quite hit everything.
I do like that, though, just being able to find an advantage where you've kind of lost it all. McConsty finding an early pick onto Extreme just gashes the hopes once again, as Ovation, of course, in the double digits for the rounds. Hyferion5 really need to find a way to bring this back. They do have the revive. I'm not too sure if they're going to be able to push this, as we're going to see A sites. An absolute brawl with Ram going down. Over on B site, we saw Viper vs Viper, where McConsty came off the top. And now, This Is John finds Operator Shot to Quiche, and it's all up to the Lonely Happen. I'm not sure if he is going to make it happen.
I'm gonna ignore that one, and I mean,
that was
Krovex
awful.
doesn't keep an eye on anything but Happen there. So Ovation with a really strong round in the bag, and as you said, very few opportunities for Ovation to kind of well, sorry, very few opportunities for Hyferion5, apologies, to close this, sorry, to try and bring this back now. They don't have much in terms of weaponry either. This is not going to be their chance. They're going to have to try and play for overtime, I believe, here, unless obviously those sheriffs come out magically, which they absolutely could. We saw great stuff from Cirque, for example, and from Happen with that weapon before. Just need that little bit more from them to be able to deliver and find those frags that they need. They're at a disadvantage, but they're not down and out yet.
An interesting wall from Viper. That's a deep wall, which means that it was actually very dangerous to push through this. This is John wants to push up and Happen, just holding the angle of the Sheriff. Ooh, not finding the hit, but definitely watching it. Ram is the one to get the pick on This is John. Of course, we do see trades coming out. Leosin getting a pick alongside McConsty. I thought that was quite great from Ram, but it's not quite enough when we have the revive. Floco gonna find another, and the revive from the attackers just really changed the tide of battle. And yeah, as you said, Rook, now Hyferion5 have to find a way to play for overtime. They do get the bye, but is it really enough when Ovation are looking so good on the attack?
I don't know. I mean, they also invested a lot of ultimates in that previous round. The fact that there's no longer a Hunter's Fury ready for Heish, the fact that they, I can't remember, they also blow the Blade Storm being popped from Extreme makes a lot of sense there. Get as much as you can out of that. You can still buy rifles next round regardless, so it doesn't really matter. But I think throwing in that Hunter's Fury could really bite them in the behind here. They don't have, as we said before, many opportunities. They have one shot, and I mean, if they're going to be able to find this, it's going to be off the back of a really good opening pick here. And this is John, and is looking to do the opposite number of that.
Operator in hand, though. Extreme finds the pick that does actually shore things out, but too aggressive and greedy. Floco finding the trade. Hunter's Fury from the attackers now. Krovex hoping to at least get rid of anyone in backside. Leosin finds Cirque, and Heish does have a shock dart lineup to try and deal some damage. Doesn't really find anyone just yet, and of course Floco does have the overheal. McConsty finding Heish does open things up a bit. At least Happen finds a trade, but still a 2 versus 3. We have a revive on the board, Hyferion5 on the defense, but this is so important. Heish goes down, Floco just waiting, biding their time. Ram can get quite a lot of information with this. Floco trapped and lowers, but Krovex finds 2, and it's all up to Heish. 1 versus 2. And Heish not able to do as Krovex finds the head. Ovation taking Hyferion5 down.